The alarm bells rang across the Zenthari command ship. Admiral Kexathara looked at the screen with tired eyes. Another unknown ship was coming toward their space. This happened every few months. Some new species would find them and want to join. The Galactic Federation. "How big is it?" Kexathara asked his crew. "About 2 miles long, sir." "Metal hull. Very basic design," said the sensor officer. "It looks old." Kexathara nodded. Most new species had ships like this. They used simple metal and basic engines. The Federation had seen hundreds of them over the years. This one would be no different. Far away, Captain Jake Morrison stood on the bridge of the UES Liberty. He was a tall man with short brown hair and calm blue eyes. Around him, his crew worked at their stations. The ship was huge inside, with long hallways and many decks. It held almost 3,000 people. "Sir, we're getting signals from them," said Lieutenant Commander Lisa Rodriguez. She was the communications officer. Her dark hair was pulled back in a neat bun. "It looks like math problems." Jake smiled. "First contact protocol. They want to see if we're smart enough to talk to them." At her station, Lisa worked on the alien signals. The math was simple. 2 + 2 = 4. 3 × 3 = 9. Basic stuff. She sent back the answers and added some of her own problems. In the engine room, Chief Engineer Pete Campbell checked the ship's systems. Pete was a big man with strong hands and a thick beard. He had worked on ships for 20 years. The Liberty was different from anything he had seen before. It had power systems that could run a small city. Its engines could push the massive ship faster than anything should move. "How are we doing, Pete?" Jake asked over the comm. "All green, Captain. She's running smooth as silk." Back on the Zenthari ship, the crew was surprised. The unknown ship had solved their math problems quickly, too quickly. Most species took hours to work out first contact math. These aliens had done it in minutes. "Send them the star charts," Kexathara ordered, "and the peace symbols." The star charts showed where they were in the galaxy. The peace symbols were pictures that meant friendship and safety. Every species understood them eventually. On the Liberty, Lisa looked at the new signals. "Captain, they're sending us maps and pictures that look like peace signs." "Good. Send back our own peaceful greeting. Let them know we come in friendship." Dr. Helen Wright, the chief science officer, studied the alien star charts. She was a smart woman with gray hair and sharp eyes. The charts were interesting. They showed a huge area of space with many star systems, hundreds of worlds with different species. "Captain," she said, "this Federation is much bigger than we thought. They control thousands of star systems." Jake nodded. Earth had known other species might exist. They had prepared for this day for 50 years. The Liberty was humanity's first try at making friends with aliens. The Zenthari sent another message. 3 ships would come to escort the Liberty to a meeting place. It was standard procedure. New species always needed escorts. They might get lost or scared. "Sir, they want to send ships to guide us," Lisa reported. "Tell them we appreciate the offer, but we can follow their directions just fine." On the Zenthari ship, the communications officer looked confused. "Admiral, they declined our escort." Kexathara frowned. New species always accepted escorts. They were usually afraid and needed help. These humans seemed different. "Send the escort anyway. Keep your distance, but follow them." 3 Zenthari cruisers moved toward the Liberty. Each ship was about half a mile long. They had sleek designs and advanced technology. The Zenthari were proud of their ships. Commander Rick Murphy was the Liberty's tactical officer. He was a calm man who had served in Earth's Space Navy for 15 years. He watched the alien ships approach on his screens. "Captain, 3 ships coming our way. They're keeping back, but they're definitely following us." "Let them come. Show them we're peaceful but not helpless." The Zenthari pilots were surprised when they got close to the human ship. It was much bigger than their sensors had shown. The metal hull was thick and strong. Strange weapons pointed in all directions. This was not like other first contact ships. "Admiral," the lead pilot reported, "this ship is heavily armed, much more than a normal exploration vessel." Kexathara felt a cold feeling in his stomach. Maybe these humans were not like other species. Maybe they were dangerous. Amy Chen, the senior diplomat, prepared for first contact. She was a calm woman who had trained for this moment her whole life. She studied the alien messages and prepared peaceful responses. "Captain, I think we should be very careful," she said. "These aliens seem powerful. We don't want to make mistakes." Jake agreed. The Liberty was humanity's first attempt at joining the galactic community. They had to get it right. As the ships moved through space together, both sides wondered about each other. The Xanthari had never seen a species like the humans. The humans had never seen aliens before. Neither side knew what would happen next. The journey to the meeting place would take 2 days. During that time, both sides would learn that first impressions could be very wrong. The galaxy was about to discover that humans were unlike any species they had ever met. The Liberty moved through space like a silent giant. Inside, 3,000 humans prepared to meet their neighbors among the stars. They had no idea that their arrival would change everything. The diplomatic station at Kepler Prime was the size of a small moon. It floated in space between 2 bright stars. Ships from dozens of different species docked at its many ports. This was where new civilizations came to join the Galactic Federation. Ambassador Veltar had worked at the station for 30 years. He was a tall, thin alien with blue skin and 4 arms. He had helped 17 different species join the Federation. The process was always the same. First came technology tests, then cultural exchange. Finally, after many years, new members could join. The Liberty docked at the largest port. The station workers had never seen such a big ship. Its metal hull was dark gray and covered with strange markings. Weapons stuck out from every surface. This was not a normal exploration ship. Captain Jake Morrison walked through the airlock with his team. Amy Chen led the way as chief diplomat. Dr. Helen Wright carried scientific equipment. Commander Rick Murphy stayed alert for any danger. The station inside was amazing. The walls curved high above them. Different kinds of aliens walked around everywhere. Some had wings, others had tentacles. A few looked almost human, but with different colored skin. "Welcome to Kepler Prime," Veltar said in perfect English. The station's computers had learned human language from their first messages. "I am Ambassador Veltar. I will help you join our Federation." Amy Chen smiled and bowed slightly. "Thank you, Ambassador. We are honored to be here. Humanity hopes for friendship with all peaceful species." Veltar led them to a large meeting room. Representatives from 12 different species sat around a curved table. They all wanted to see the new humans. "We will start with the technology demonstration," Veltar explained. "Each species shows us their greatest achievements. This helps us understand your capabilities." Jake nodded. Earth had prepared for this. They knew aliens would want to see human technology. Dr. Helen Wright set up a small device on the table. "This is our basic manufacturing unit," she said. "We call it a fabricator." The device hummed quietly. In minutes, it built a small metal tool from nothing but energy and raw materials. The alien representatives looked interested but not impressed. Many species had similar technology. "What about your weapons?" asked General Thakra, a large alien with gray skin and sharp teeth. "All species must be able to defend themselves." Commander Rick Murphy stepped forward. He was carrying a small black box. "This is a kinetic rifle," he said. "It fires metal projectiles at very high speed." He showed them pictures of the weapon in action. The aliens nodded. Simple projectile weapons were common among young species. "And your ships?" asked Admiral Zeklos, a female alien with green scales. "How do you travel between stars?" "The Liberty uses what we call a jump drive," Jake explained. "It lets us move very quickly across long distances." Again, the aliens seemed unimpressed. Jump drives were old technology. Most species had them, but Dr. Wright was not finished. "Perhaps you would like to see our defensive systems?" She activated another device. A shimmering field appeared around her. "Personal energy shields," she said. "They can stop most weapons." Now the aliens looked more interested. Personal shields were advanced technology. Only older species had them. "And this," Commander Murphy said, pulling out another device, "is what we call a plasma cutter. It can cut through almost any material." He demonstrated on a piece of metal. The tool sliced through it like butter. Several aliens leaned forward to get a better look. Pete Campbell, who had come up from the engine room, showed them a small power cell. "This can run a city for a month," he said simply. The room became quiet. Power sources that small and strong were very advanced. The aliens began to whisper among themselves. Interesting, Veltar said carefully. Your technology seems quite developed for a first contact species. Amy Chen smiled. Humans have always been good at solving problems. We've had to be. Over the next few hours, the humans showed more of their technology. Medical devices that could heal almost any injury. Computers that could think and learn. Materials that were stronger than anything the Federation had seen. But the aliens were most confused by the Liberty itself. Dr. Wright explained that it was not just an exploration ship. It could also serve as a research station, a factory, AE, hospital, and if needed, a warship. Why would you build one ship to do so many things? Asked Engineer Polvex, an alien with metal arms. It is more efficient to have specialized ships for each task. We prefer flexibility, Jake said. One ship that can handle any situation is better than many ships that can only do one thing. The aliens did not understand this thinking. In the Federation, exploration ships explored, warships fought, factory ships built things. No one mixed different jobs together. What is your military doctrine? General Thakra asked. How do you fight wars? Commander Murphy looked at Jake, who nodded. We prefer not to fight at all, Murphy said. But if we must, we believe in overwhelming force, followed by immediate peace negotiations. Overwhelming force? Admiral Zeklos asked. We hit hard and fast. Then we talk, Rick explained. The goal is to end conflicts quickly with as few casualties as possible. The aliens found this strange too. Most species had long, careful battles with many rules. Humans seemed to prefer short, decisive actions. Lieutenant Commander Lisa Rodriguez had been quiet during most of the meeting, but now she spoke up. We brought a gift, she said. Music from our world. She played recordings of human music, classical, symphonies, jazz, rock, and folk songs from many cultures. The aliens listened with growing amazement. The music was complex and beautiful. It showed emotions they had never heard before. Your species makes this? Asked Counselor Miraeth, an alien with large eyes and delicate features. It is magnificent. Every human culture makes music, Lisa said. It helps us understand each other. As the day went on, the aliens began to realize that humans were different from any species they had met. Their technology was advanced but hidden. Their military thinking was strange but effective. Their culture was complex and emotional. That evening, Veltar met privately with the other ambassadors. What do you think of these humans? He asked. Their technology is centuries ahead of what we expected, Admiral Zeklos said. That ship of theirs is not what it appears to be. They seem peaceful, Counselor Miraeth added, but they are clearly prepared for war. General Thakra was worried. They think differently than we do. Their strategies could change everything. Veltar nodded. In 30 years, he had never met a species like the humans. They were advanced but seemed young. They were peaceful but obviously dangerous. They wanted friendship but came prepared for anything. The next day would bring more questions. And soon, those questions would be answered in ways no one expected. 3 weeks had passed since the humans arrived at Kepler Prime. The talks were going well. The aliens were starting to understand human culture. The humans were learning about the Galactic Federation. Everyone was making progress. Then the emergency. Alarm sounded. Ambassador Veltar rushed into the main command center. Admiral Kexathara was already there, looking at a large screen that showed the local star systems. What is happening? Veltar asked. The Drakhi are attacking Mineral Station 7, Kexathara said with anger in his voice. They came out of nowhere with 15 ships. Veltar felt sick. The Drakhi were a violent species that lived outside Federation space. Every few years they would attack mining stations or small colonies. They took what they wanted and left. How many people are at the station? Veltar asked. About 50,000 workers and their families, Kexathara replied. We are starting emergency evacuation procedures. This was how the Federation handled Drakhi attacks. First, they moved all civilians to safety. Then they sent military ships to chase away the attackers. It usually took 3 or 4 days to organize everything. Captain Jake Morrison was in his quarters when the alarm rang. He ran to the Bridge of the Liberty. His crew was already at their stations. What's the situation? He asked. Alien attack on a mining station, Commander Rick Murphy reported. The Federation is starting evacuation procedures. Jake studied the tactical display. The attacked station was only 6 hours away at full speed. The Federation rescue ships would take 3 days to get there. Lisa, get me Ambassador Veltar, Jake ordered. A few minutes later, Veltar appeared on the main screen. He looked worried and tired. Captain Morrison, I am sorry, but we must delay our meetings. We have an emergency situation. We know about the attack, Jake said. Request permission to investigate. Veltar looked surprised. Investigate? Captain, this is a military matter. Very dangerous. You should stay here where it is safe. Ambassador, we have 50,000 people in danger. My ship can reach them in 6 hours. We want to help. After talking with Admiral Kexathara, Veltar agreed. The humans could go look at the situation. Maybe they would learn something about galactic military procedures. The Liberty left Kepler Prime at full speed. The Federation officers were amazed at how fast the human ship moved. Their own ships would take much longer to make the same journey. On the bridge, Lieutenant Colonel Sandra Mills studied the tactical information. She was a short woman with red hair and sharp green eyes. She had been a soldier for 20 years and knew how to analyze battles. Captain, the attackers have 15 ships surrounding the station, she reported. They're medium cruisers, about half our size. The station has no real defenses. What do you recommend? Jake asked. Sandra looked at the data again. Standard. Rescue operation. We go in, establish communications with both sides, negotiate for civilian release. Commander Tony Davis was the ship's strategic officer. He was a thin man with dark skin and calm eyes. Sir, if negotiation fails, we should be prepared for combat operations. Acceptable casualty ratios? Jake asked. For the civilians? 0. For us? Minimal. For the attackers? Tony paused. Whatever is necessary to protect the innocent. The K. Federation observers listening to the conversation became confused. These humans talked about battle like it was a normal thing. They discussed casualty numbers like they were planning a shopping trip. 6 hours later, the Liberty arrived at Mineral Station 7. The mining station was huge, built into a large asteroid. 15 Drakhi ships surrounded it like hungry sharks. The Drakhi ships were ugly and dark. They had weapons pointing everywhere. Smoke and fire came from their engines. They looked as violent as their reputation said they were. Open communications to all ships, Jake ordered. Lieutenant Commander Lisa Rodriguez worked at her station. Channel open, sir. This is Captain Jake Morrison of the United Earth Ship Liberty. Drakhi vessels, you are attacking a civilian station. Release all hostages immediately and withdraw from this system. The response came quickly. The voice was rough and full of anger. Human ship. You are not welcome here. This is Drakhi business. Leave now or be destroyed. The alien voice belonged to Fleet Commander Gothrock. He was a large Drakhi with red eyes and sharp claws. He had been raiding Federation space for 10 years. One unknown ship did not worry him. On the Liberty's bridge, Major Kate Nelson prepared her fighters. She was a pilot who had trained for space combat her whole life. Her squadron was ready for anything. Captain, I have 36 fighters ready to launch, she reported. Commander Steve Parker managed the ship's power systems. He was an engineer who understood every circuit on the Liberty. All weapons charged and ready, defensive systems online. We're at full combat readiness. The Federation observers could not believe what they were hearing. These humans were preparing to fight 15 enemy ships with just one vessel. It was impossible. It was suicide. Captain Morrison, Admiral Kexathara called over the communication system. Please withdraw immediately. You cannot fight so many ships alone. Wait for our fleet to arrive. Jake looked at his crew. They were calm and ready. These were people who had trained for this moment. Admiral, with respect, we cannot wait 3 days. Those civilians need help now. He turned back to the main screen. Drakhi ships, this is your final warning. Release the hostages and leave immediately. Gothrak laughed. Stupid humans. You will die first. Then we will take your ship too. The Drakhi ships began moving toward the Liberty. Their weapons powered up. Energy beams and missiles started flying through space. All hands, "This is the captain," Jake announced to his ship. "We are now in combat. Protect the civilians. Minimize enemy casualties. Show them what humans can do." Dr. Paul Turner, the chief medical officer, prepared his sickbay for casualties. He was an old man who had seen many battles. "Medical, teams ready, Captain. We are prepared for wounded from both sides." The Liberty began to move, but it did not run away. Instead, it flew straight toward the Drakhi fleet. The Federation observers watched in horror. The humans were going to get themselves killed. But then something strange happened. The Liberty's weapons fired with perfect accuracy. Its shields absorbed enemy attacks without damage. Its fighters moved like nothing anyone had ever seen before. In 18 minutes, the entire Drakhi fleet was disabled. Not destroyed, disabled. Their weapons were gone, their engines were damaged, but their life support still worked. The crews were alive. The mining station was safe. The hostages were free. And the galaxy had just learned that humans were not what they seemed to be. "All Drakhi ships, this is Captain Morrison. You are defeated but alive. Surrender now and we will provide medical assistance. Continue fighting and the results will be much worse." Gothrak stared at his broken fleet. In 18 minutes, one human ship had done what entire Federation fleets had never accomplished. He had no choice. "We surrender, human ship. We surrender." The Federation observers sat in stunned silence. Everything they thought they knew about warfare had just changed. The humans had fought like nothing they had ever seen. Fast, precise, and overwhelmingly powerful. And the most frightening part was that the humans seemed to think this was normal. Fleet Commander Gothrak could not believe what had happened. His 15 ships floated helplessly in space. Their weapons were destroyed. Their engines barely worked. But somehow, all his crews were still alive. He looked at the human ship through his broken view screen. The Liberty hung in space like a silent predator. It showed no damage from the battle. None at all. "How?" he whispered to himself. "How did they do this?" On the Liberty's bridge, Captain Jake Morrison was talking to the mining station. "Station. Commander, this is Captain Morrison. Are your people safe?" "Yes, Captain," came the grateful reply. "All civilians are accounted for. No casualties. Thank you for saving us." Jake nodded to his crew. "Good work, everyone. Medical teams, prepare to help the wounded on the Drakhi ships." Major Kate Nelson was bringing her fighters back to the Liberty. Her 36 small ships had moved through the battle like deadly dancers. They hit exactly what they aimed at and avoided all enemy fire. "All fighters recovered, Captain," she reported. "Zero losses, zero damage." Commander Steve Parker was checking the ship's systems. "Captain, we used only 12% of our total power during the engagement. All systems are green." The Federation observers listened to these reports with growing shock. The humans had just won a major battle using almost no effort. Their ship was completely undamaged, their fighters had performed perfectly, and they were already helping their defeated enemies. Dr. Paul Turner and his medical teams were boarding the Drakhi ships. The human doctors worked to save wounded aliens who had been trying to kill them minutes before. "Captain," Dr. Turner reported, "enemy casualties are light, mostly minor injuries from when their systems failed. We can treat everyone." Admiral Kexathera finally found his voice. "Captain Morrison, how is this possible? You defeated 15 warships in 18 minutes. Your ship shows no damage. Your people act like this is normal." Jake looked at the screen, where Kexathara's worried face appeared. "Admiral, this was a fairly standard engagement. We used minimal force to achieve our objectives." "Minimal force?" Kexathara repeated. "You disabled an entire fleet." "Yes, sir. But we could have destroyed them just as easily. We chose not to." The words sent a chill through every alien listening. The humans could have destroyed 15 ships as easily as disabling them, and they said this was minimal force. Lieutenant Colonel Sandra Mills was writing her after-action report. To her, this had been a simple rescue mission. The enemy was outmatched from the beginning. The result was never in doubt. "Captain, shall I classify this as a training exercise?" she asked. "The tactical challenge was quite low." "No, Sandra. Real combat, even easy combat, gets filed as such." The Federation officers could not understand this conversation. The humans talked about a major fleet battle like it was barely worth mentioning. Commander Tony Davis was already planning for possible follow-up actions. Sir, should we expect Drakhi reinforcements? They might send more ships to investigate. Possible, Jake agreed. But they'll likely want to talk first. Today's demonstration should make them think twice about future raids. Ambassador Veltar finally spoke up. Captain, I must ask, what kind of ship is the Liberty? Your technology seems far beyond what you showed us during first contact. Jake exchanged glances with his senior officers. They had hoped to avoid this conversation for a while longer. Ambassador, the Liberty is classified as a light exploration cruiser. It's designed for first contact scenarios and long-range missions. Light cruiser? Admiral Kex Thera sputtered. Your light cruiser just defeated a major attack fleet. Yes, sir. That's why we call it a light cruiser. It's not designed primarily for combat. The silence that followed this statement lasted for a long time. The Federation officers were trying to understand what they had just heard. If this was a light cruiser, what did human warships look like? Chief Engineer Pete Campbell was running diagnostics on the ship's weapons. Captain, the main guns didn't even warm up during the fight. We could have engaged 50 ships just as easily. Noted, Pete. Include that in your report. Major Kate Nelson was debriefing her pilots. The enemy fighters were too slow, she told them. They moved like they were in thick liquid. We had to be careful not to hit them by accident. Commander Steve Parker was reviewing power consumption data. Sir, our defensive shields absorbed their entire attack output. We never came close to maximum protection levels. Every report made the situation clearer to the listening aliens. The humans had not been pushed to their limits. They had barely been tested. Dr. Helen Wright had been scanning the Drakhi ships with the Liberty's sensors. Captain, their technology is about 200 years behind ours. Their weapons couldn't have hurt us even if we had lowered our shields. Interesting. Make a note for the cultural exchange files. Fleet Commander Gothrak was listening to all this through his ship's damaged communication system. He began to understand the terrible truth. His mighty fleet had attacked something far beyond their ability to fight. Human Captain, he called. Out. May I speak with you? Jake appeared on Gothrak's screen. The human looked calm and friendly. Not like someone who had just won a major battle. What can I do for you, Commander? I must know. Could you have destroyed my ships? Jake considered the question seriously. Yes, very easily. But that would have accomplished nothing useful. Then why did you spare us? Because dead enemies can't become friends. Your people attacked civilians. That was wrong. But it doesn't mean you have to die for it. Gothrak had never heard a warrior talk like this before. The humans could have wiped out his fleet without effort. Instead, they chose mercy and offered medical help. What happens to us now? He asked. That depends on you, Jake replied. You can go home and tell your people what happened here. Maybe they'll decide that raiding Federation space isn't worth the risk anymore. And if we choose to fight again? Jake's expression became serious. Then next time, I might not be feeling so generous. The threat was delivered calmly, but everyone listening understood its meaning. The humans had shown restraint today. That restraint was a choice, not a weakness. Amy Chen, the senior diplomat, opened a channel to the Federation observers. Ambassador Veltar, perhaps we should resume our talks. I think there are some things about humanity that we need to discuss. Veltar nodded slowly. Yes. I believe we have much to talk about. As the Liberty's medical teams finished helping the wounded Drakhi, the defeated fleet limped away toward their home space. They carried with them a story that would change everything the galaxy thought it knew about warfare. The humans watched them go without anger or triumph. To them, this had been a job that needed doing. Nothing more, nothing less. But to the galaxy, it was the day everything changed. The day they learned that humanity was not just another young species seeking friendship. They were something entirely new. Something powerful. Something that chose to be gentle, and that made them the most dangerous thing the galaxy had ever encountered. The emergency council meeting on Kepler Prime included representatives from every major species in the Federation. The large chamber was filled with worried voices speaking in dozens of different languages. Everyone was talking about the same thing: the humans. Federation Council leader Mordith called for order. He was an ancient being who had guided the Federation for over a century. His wise eyes had seen many crises, but nothing like this. We are here to discuss the human situation, he announced. In one day, everything we thought we knew about galactic warfare has changed. Admiral Kexathara stood to speak. Council Leader, the humans defeated a major Dracahai fleet in 18 minutes. 15 ships, disabled with surgical precision. 0 Federation casualties. Minimal enemy losses. How minimal? Asked General Zorth, a military leader from the outer systems. No deaths. Light injuries only. The humans could have destroyed the entire fleet, but chose not to. Worried murmurs filled the chamber. The representatives were scared. If humans could defeat the Dracahai so easily, what did that mean for everyone else? What do we know about their true capabilities? Asked Counselor Ayani from the Science Division. Admiral Kexathara looked at his notes. According to their own statements, the Liberty is a light exploration cruiser, not a warship, not their most advanced vessel, one of their basic ships. The chamber fell silent. If this was a basic ship, what were their real warships like? On the Liberty, Captain Jake Morrison was having a similar meeting with his senior staff. The ship's conference room was smaller than the Federation chamber, but the conversation was just as important. Sir, the aliens are scared, Amy Chen reported. Their representatives are asking a lot of questions about our military capabilities. Jake nodded. He had expected this. What kind of questions? How many ships do we have? How advanced are our weapons? Whether we plan to conquer anyone? Commander Rick Murphy leaned forward. Captain, maybe we should tell them the truth. Show them that we're not a threat. Are we not a threat? Dr. Helen Wright asked quietly. From their perspective, we might be the biggest threat they've ever faced. Jake considered this. Earth had built the Liberty and her sister ships for exploration and first contact, but they had also built them to survive anything they might encounter. The result was ships that could defend themselves against almost any danger. Lisa, get me a secure channel to Earth. I need to talk to Admiral Clark. A few minutes later, Admiral Susan Clark appeared on the main screen. She was in her office at Earth Command, 47 light-years away. Behind her, through the window, Jake could see the orbital shipyards where dozens of ships like the Liberty were under construction. Jake, I've been following the situation. How are our new neighbors taking the news? They're nervous, Admiral. They want to know about our fleet strength and military doctrine. Admiral Clark smiled. I can imagine. What do you think we should tell them? The truth. If we're going to be partners, they need to know what they're partnering with. Agreed. You have permission to share basic fleet information. Nothing classified, but enough to answer their questions. Back in the Federation Council chamber, Jake Morrison had requested permission to address the assembled representatives. He stood at the center of the room, surrounded by dozens of alien species. Council Leader, honored representatives, I understand. You have concerns about humanity's military capabilities. I'm authorized to answer your questions honestly. Mordeth leaned forward. Captain Morrison, how many ships does Earth possess? Currently, we have 212 vessels of the Liberty class or similar. We also have 47 ships of the next generation design, which are more advanced. The numbers sent a wave of shock through the chamber. 200 ships, as powerful as the Liberty, and 47 even better ones. What is your military doctrine? Asked General Thakra. What are your intentions toward the Federation? Jake chose his words carefully. Humanity believes in peace through strength. We prefer friendship and cooperation. But we are prepared to defend ourselves and our friends against any threat. And if someone threatens you? Asked Admiral Zeklos. We respond with overwhelming force, followed immediately by peace negotiations. Our goal is to end conflicts quickly and permanently. General Zorth stood up. Captain, your ship defeated 15 enemy vessels in 18 minutes. How would you fight a real war? Jake was quiet for a moment. General, what happened today was not a real war. It was a police action. If Earth went to war, the engagement would be measured in minutes, not hours or days. The chamber was silent. The aliens were beginning to understand the true scope of human military power. Dr. Karen White, the ship's cultural specialist, stepped forward. If I may explain, our species developed differently than yours. We faced many wars on our home world. We learned that the best way to prevent war is to be so strong that no one wants to fight you. But you seem so peaceful, Counselor Miraeth said with confusion. Your music, your art, your desire for friendship. We are peaceful, Amy Chen replied. But peaceful does not mean helpless. We choose to be gentle because we can afford to be gentle. Commander Steve Parker had prepared a technical presentation. If it helps, I can show you some basic information about our ship design philosophy. The screen lit up with diagrams of the Liberty. The aliens saw a ship designed for multiple roles: exploration, diplomacy, research, manufacturing, and if necessary, combat. Why build one ship to do everything? Asked Engineer Paul Vex. Flexibility, Pete Campbell answered. One ship that can handle any situation is better than many ships that can only do one thing. Also, it's more efficient to maintain. Bill Rogers, the ship's quartermaster, added practical details. The Liberty can manufacture its own parts, grow its own food, and generate its own power. We can operate independently for years if necessary. The aliens were amazed. Their ships required constant support from bases and supply lines. Human ships were completely self-sufficient. What about your crews? Asked Counselor Ayani. How do you train people for so many different jobs? Mary Lopez, the communications officer, smiled. Every human on this ship can do at least 3 different jobs. We train for flexibility, too. Dan Cooper, one of the engineers, nodded. I can fix engines, operate weapons, grow food, or pilot a fighter. Most of us can. As the presentation continued, the aliens began to understand human thinking. They built everything to be adaptable and self-reliant. Their technology was designed for any situation. Their people were trained for multiple roles. This is remarkable, Mordeth said finally. But it raises a question. Why do you want to join? Our Federation? You seem capable of standing alone? Jake smiled warmly. Because standing alone is lonely. We believe that many different species working together can accomplish more than any one species alone. Our strength should serve the common good. And if the Federation faces a threat we cannot handle? Asked Admiral Kexathara. Then you will. Not face it alone, Jake replied simply. The promise hung in the air. The humans were offering their friendship and their protection to hundreds of worlds. They were offering to share their advanced technology and their military strength. Fleet Commander Gothrak's report had already reached the Drak-High homeworld. The message was simple. Do not attack Federation space anymore. The humans would not. Be merciful twice. Similar messages were spreading to other hostile species. The galaxy's balance of power had shifted overnight. In the weeks that followed, the Federation would learn more about their new human friends. They would see human doctors, healing alien diseases, human engineers solving impossible technical problems, human teachers sharing knowledge freely, but they would never forget the lesson of that first day. Humanity was powerful beyond anything the galaxy had ever seen, and they chose to use that power for protection, not conquest. The galaxy had gained more than a new member species. They had gained guardians. And as long as the humans were around, the peaceful species of the Federation could sleep safely. The age of human cooperation had begun, and the galaxy would never be the same.